Today we're going to put together a Pentax Spotmatic, and for lubricants I use for grease, I don't know where I put it, stuff called Tri-Flow. It's around here somewhere. And then I use this synthetic clock lubricant, so it's a little bit thinner than sewing machine oil. And for the leatherettes, to glue them back on, I just use this contact adhesive that I got at local hardware store. So this is about as far down. This is kind of what I consider to be, like the complete clean, overhaul CLA kind of thing. So we've taken out the curtains. This is a mirror box. When I get into the top of these, I unsolder the shutter speed pot here, and then I unsolder all the contacts here on this right hand side of the shutter box as you're looking at it. I take a picture of the top side once I remove the speed selector equipment here, and that helps me remember where there's a couple washers up in here on like the stop plate and the stop lever kind of thing. Pretty much everything I learned about how to do this, I picked up from the, I think it's called the National Camera Institute. There's a manual on the internet called for the Pentax K1000, and it covers very in detail how the camera works and step by step how to get it apart, where specifically to lubricate it, how to get it back together. I think it'll cost you about $1.30 or something to download, but you definitely need to have that. As I pull the E-clips off of the end of both of the shutter tensioners and clean all that, and then I put like a half a speck of oil there on that end and a half a speck of oil on this end, on both of these, both the opening and closing curtains. I'm not going to show you how I get the E-clips to shoot off into space, but it involves me prying them off with the half millimeter screwdriver. All right, so I got that E-clip off pretty easily, and what we're going to do is we're just going to take a little bit of lighter fluid and a toothbrush and basically kind of swab out the insides of these guys, and then lighter fluid on a piece of cloth or whatever, and scrub the ends of this. And we just swab it back and forth. These rollers don't really have an orientation. They go either way. So, oop, forgot the oil. I am pushing the roller shaft up a little bit, and then just dabbing that oil right in there, and it's just a half a drop. Okay, that took me about half an hour to do those two little things. Go clean out the pivots. I think it's these two holes here, and then these two holes here, and basically mop out all this stuff. So I'm kind of done with it though. And we'll go ahead and clean off the actual, these ones here that go on this side. So there's just a fair amount of mopping to do, and then we'll be ready to start putting stuff back in. All right, I think I got this figured out. There's 3 overall spacers, like on this end of the camera. And I think I need these 2 for the opening pinion, or for the opening curtain. This one will go on the top, and that one goes at the end. I can do it as I put the plate on. We'll get the holes lined up and get those screws in. And it's just fiddly work. And it's not like, it doesn't have to be any particular orientation, except that this roller and this roller need to be on the same, they need to be singing the same tune. So they got to have the same amount of turns. All right, now we're looking at the closing curtain here. On the metal bushing, the screwed bushing, the top surface has got a ring on it, and the bottom surface is smooth, at least on this camera. I can't remember if that's the same everywhere, but and hopefully I can avoid using the tweezers. Yes, excellent. Sometimes shitty ones work pretty good. Okay, there we go. Boom. All right, we're done. That wasn't that bad. We're going to put in the bottom plate on the winding side, and along with that goes a single washer, which was on for this camera, and this is unique. These spacers are kind of unique on each camera. It went on the one that was higher, so there. This one goes there. Check this out. Boom. Block of foam. All right, and then this bottom plate goes thusly, but I forgot to put that other washer on. All right, wish me luck here. Boom. There's 3 different screws that go that hold this down. They're all different, so it's hard to screw it up. Come on. Okay, here's that. Beveled screws. We still got both the spacers in. So now we're ready to set this this plate in. Yeah, you just gotta like get it around the wires. No big deal. NBD. So now we're doing the worm gears on the take-up, or on the tensioning rollers. So each one has a worm, or a gear, and then the adjusting worm screw, right? So we do the gear first, and these are reverse threaded. So you're gonna lock up the left end, and then turn the gears on counterclockwise. Clockwise direction. Again, they are reverse threaded. So they don't need to be wildly tight. They tend to tighten themselves in use. So, and then we drop in the worm gears. And you literally just poke those in. You look at where we're at right now, we're kind of zeroed. This is going to kind of push that back some, and then we just take up that slack. So I'm not really counting here. I'm going to end up probably taking this tension back off and redoing it. But there we go. Now the curtains are back in. Check that out. We are making some progress. This guy you got to be careful of when you take it apart. There's a very tiny, real small bushing that goes around that's easy to lose. So before you pull this out, pull the bushing off of this post here. It goes on this. Lift it up, put it someplace. All right. Do some brush work. Same with this one. And these are what kind of set the timing of the opening and closing curtains. So these two in relationship to one another have to be in the curtain positions. This is where like the rubber meets the road, and the one kind of technical spot. Again, it's not like particularly hard, but sometimes you kind of wish you had 3 very tiny hands. But I think, if I remember right, those are the next ones to go. It's been a year since I've done one of these, but I like it. It's fun. These guys are important. These brass ones need to be good and clean. This is, again, another part of that what do they call it? The transitional something or other. So if you see stuff on here, like I could see a dark spot in there, and it took quite a few brushes to get that dark spot out. You want to get those out. This is kind of stuff that you want clean and dry. Like the only stuff you lubricate on this camera, on these cameras, are the like tiny round shafts. Like gears, no, you don't put anything on the gears. Like the teeth, they don't need anything. They don't want anything. It's just going to collect stuff and slow them down. So you leave those dry. Now the shaft on there, see how it's got two bright patches? The bearing surfaces, those do each get like a tiny speck of oil, because that does spin on those. This guy, which is the flash sync setting dealio, and he goes onto the bottom of this, which is a nightmare. And I think, I want to say there's a screw with red on it that needs to, yeah, that's the one. Locks it in place. Getting that thing on there kind of sucks. But back at you later. We want to get these rotating parts down right where they interface with the metal. So that one, and that one, and that one, and then into the bottom here. Not on the gear, we'll do it from the bottom side. Have to drop there. And just... And... Same there. Yes, look at that. Just a little bit, and just let it wick in. We need to set the timing on the closing curtain gear, which is this one. It sits in here. And basically what we're doing is we're timing the latch such that when the curtain is fully open, it's in the right place. See the bar move back and forth as I move my finger? It needs to be a 1/4 inch to the left of that frame. So we put that... I'm going to drop that in about, see how that's pointed out that way? Because at the end of the day, I'm so sorry. You get what you pay for, you know? That's what YouTube's all about. So I'm putting the latch mechanism on the camera here. That looks a little bit short, so I think I need to come like 1 tooth more in the open direction. I kind of have to like take up a little slack and lift the gear and reposition it. Like basically this stud like 1 tooth over maybe to the right. That looks like about a 1/4 inch right there. Drop oil on any of the rotating parts, but we're not putting anything in the gears. So. Okay, and so I'm just putting a little dab on the ramp part, and a tiny speck on the way too much. Tiny speck on it, and that needs to be counterclockwise of that. And let's see what we get. So then what we're going to do basically is lock that in the appropriate direction, and we're looking for the curtains to overlap. And okay, I got it together. All right, the curtains are now synced together. And this is kind of the relative position that you want things in when everything's released. And when you rotate it in the correct direction, the curtains come open, you know, kind of paired together like that. What I do is I jam a toothpick up in here, not too tight, but you know, kind of moderately, and then that will keep that X-lug from just like falling off and swimming around in there and having to redo that. And then you can kind of gently lift the opening curtain gear and move it, you know, 1 or 2 teeth at a time as necessary until you get it married up. and then, you know, you go ahead and send the screw. We're in a good spot. I'm going to take a break and get some coffee. But that's kind of one of the more challenging aspects of reassembly here. All right, we're going to put together a stop plate now, which is this guy. I previously just put 2 dabs of grease on each of the little bearing rings on that post. So that's that. Let's go here. Try the release. Wind it again. And I think, if I remember right, that washer needs to go down. And now I got to get that spring, this straight part of the spring behind that post. So. Voila. Yay. And we're going to do a tiny dab of grease there. And there we go. There we go. I don't remember that being tricky, but there you go.
This is like a full body workout. I don't know if you realize, but you will be like, yeah. And then whenever you're ready, go. Or just jump.
Good. Now we need a dab of grease. See how that goes? We need a dab of grease on the underside of that lug there, and my toothpick. And grease. Pull it out. And then on the other side, we're going to do the pinion gear here. We need the curtain released. Yeah. All right, so the gear end goes down. One side of this has a flat. Yeah, it's this side. And that's going to kind of be facing the back of the camera.
I like that they have a tutorial mode in this game so much. I love games that have tutorial modes. Like this, let me learn every single of your things. Like if you go like that or like that, you got it. Oh my god. So you can like bash other people if you're going there. Like,
We're gonna rotate a little bit. And then just bring it around into that window there. See that? Now we're going to cock it all the way and do the next gear. We need it cocked in order to make that happen. So we're going to put him in so that the lug on the top aligns with that hole. So it's going to be pointing at that hole. That's how we know it's in the right position. This is the mirror something or other gear. Okay, so we again we seated the rear curtain latch up there and screwed that in and got the springs all set up on this post over there. Took a little fidgeting. On the bottom side, we seated the mirror cocking arm here. Then we seated the mirror pinion. After that, we cock it fully and put on the gear. And you know it's meshed correctly when this lug here lines up with the hole that's now it's behind the arm. And then we get the mirror latch here. That goes on. There's a very thin brass washer, and then the E-clip holds it in. Again, tiny drop of lube down in between those two when you get it on. There's also, as you assemble it, a spring that goes on the shaft. Okay, so we're going to do transport gears. First thing we do is to take this screw here. We can crank this clockwise all we want. But we're going to line up so the tooth, there's a little tooth poking out counter. He needs to be pointed kind of at that guy, at this post. Additionally, like the holes and the post should all kind of line up. On the bottom side, this post here should be more or less upright. Okay. Very good. All right, now the notch is going to go towards me here. Yes, we have to pull this little pawl back a little bit to get it all the way down. Okay, this pawl will keep it from seating all the way, and the pawl needs to be out. So that's pretty good. That's about right. Okay. Okay. Right on the very edge of zero contact. And then we put the lid on, and then we're going to need to kind of hold things together while we set the screw in. Okay, and like, all right, now that we got this going, like it should feel like it should hit a very firm bottom when you're driving the screw in. If it feels like it's kind of slowly tightening up, that means you're pushing on that pawl. And smashing stuff. So once again, we'll go in here, and that pawl like should be free to move after we've tightened it down. So I already got the washer on there. We're going to drop it on the post. Thusly, ta-da. Or maybe with the back closed. Let me see. Yes, back closed. Okay. Tooth goes towards that tiny little thing, and it's going to go on the how did we do that? Let me think about this, and I will get back to you. There's a trick to holding it at the right angle and stuff. Okay, so I got that in. I'm afraid to like move it around, but I got everything in place, and now all we have to do is drop this in, grease this guy. I am charging my light back up. It ran out of juice, so goes through batteries pretty quick. There's like 3 bearing surfaces on this, so all right, gear goes in there. Ta-da. Okay. So I got it seated, but I ended up having to undo the springs and let them fly loose, like the little pawl springs, and now I'll work the pawls into position and then seat those little fine little springs. You can see one of them poking out there, and then on this side some roll back up kind of in the middle of the frame there. So haha, that worked out. I basically had to get these cams rotated out of the way here. The back of the spring goes into that slot, and then rotate the springs out of the way smash this guy or seat this guy in place. See, here's the other side, the spring and the thing. What we need to do first off is clean out the hole here, but don't punch this. There's a piece of felt up here, and that I think is to basically supply lubrication to the mechanism as it goes. This outer surface here rotates thusly in this guy. Not all that critical for clean and lube, but this guy here with the two shoulders, you know, tiny speck of oil, and a drop of oil on the felt. This is the part that spins, so this needs to be cleaned. This little cam surface on the edge of this, can use a dab of grease. If we're gonna replace the shutter indicator dial here, and it kind of, I think we do it with it cocked. That's how we look when we're installed. The mechanism is cocked, and now we're gonna release it. Maybe do it with the bar here, just to make life easier.
Absolutely nothing. You don't buy anything with them. You don't unlock anything when you collect them. They're just there because they're there.
And I'm doing this just to help me kind of. And there we go. Now it's released. God, this game is dumb. This stuff generally doesn't need lube, although this surface here, this, you know, we need a speck in here. Actually, we can replace that little brass washer guy on this. Okay, so I think we're ready here. I got the retard rod and the other coupling rod thing going on. We got the spring set on top of it. I got my screws handy here. Drivers, everything's clean. You notice the high-speed guy is sliding in and out. That's all right. But the first thing you got to do is kind of fish the retard rod into that hole there, and then just kind of poke and prod everything else into place until it's seated. So we're gonna rotate you out to about there, and I'm gonna kind of hold those in place and catch that retard rod good, and then now that I got things sort of going, need some tweezers, and we'll move you towards your hole. This fast-speed knob is actually in the right place. Dog, you're gonna have to wait a minute. We are at a critical juncture here. Now things ought to drop in nicely. So everything's good. We just drive this in, and now we are. That's the last tricky part. The rest of this is fairly straightforward. All right, so here we are now going down into the slow speed attachment or escapement. Yeah. And same on the other side. The Wii remote. All right, and then so we'll put that in. And let's see, what are we gonna do? All right, let's. Perfect. And now I'm actually going to set the curtain tension for real. The manual has the right numbers. I can't remember off the top of my head what they are, but I got the slow speed winding in. It was not that hard. There's that, and boom. Now let's, I haven't taken a look, but we're going to see if the shutter counter is working. I'm not sure 100%. But what should happen here is when I open the back, that should spin like the center of that. So wish me luck. Otherwise, we're pulling a bunch of stuff out. It didn't go. Okay, had a little bit of rework here. The frame counter wasn't working quite right because when I put the lid on all that stuff, the stack of washers and springs and whatever wasn't quite all lined up, so it was just getting pinched and wasn't counting anywhere. So that was the first part. The second part was I had a lot of trouble putting this early model spring assembly in here. Here's another one, and here's the deal. Like, you got these two pawls that need to engage like that, and then these springs actually push the pawls in, and like one end of the spring goes into that little hole right here. Anyway, it's these are kind of tricky. So the key is you got to coil up the spring and get these guys kind of pointed outwards, and then get it in kind of like that, down and in, and so the whole way down you got to kind of fiddle with stuff to get it in, and then once it's in, you can place the springs, you know, one at a time, you know, into the notch on the pawl, and then lift and get this end of the spring into that hole after you put the little stop plate in there. So that took quite a bit of time. I was not amused. So anyway, here we are back at you know, where I was quite a while ago. All right, so I think I got the slow speed winding in there. And easiest way to do that is to just get the lug lined and then rotate the speed selector until the slow speed kind of disengages. See that? You want it that way. Oops, excuse me. So I'm taking the foam off of this mirror here, and what I do is I get a Q-tip and I put about 5 or 6 passes of lighter fluid on that Q-tip and rub it around, try and get this glue to soften up. It's not going well, so I'm just using whatever tools available, screwdrivers. When I take that front off for the first time, there's a set of brass washers, shims. That's how they adjust the length of the lens flange to the film, and it's kind of a crucial adjustment, so you want to be very careful not to lose track of those shims. What I do is the second it comes off, I put those, I make sure I get all the shims, if any are stuck on the front, I'll put them on the corresponding pad on this guy and set it aside, and then I will do the like, here's the front with my shims in place. You can see these guys here. So what I do is when I take it off, I will put them on the body side and then replace this light seal. And the second I'm done with that, I transfer all the shims onto here, and then I use just a little dab of nail polish to lock them in place so they don't float away. That's pretty good. Usually I notch out the screw, but I don't know if we need to this time. I cut it kind of thinner than I usually would. I can't remember if I need to do this with the mirror, with the shutter cocked or not, so we'll give it a shot here. And see, that's in place. Surprisingly easy. This one here, nearest to the battery, that's got the shoulder. So it's got good contact. The light meters on these are about half the time they're never going to work, because the light cells, the CDS cells on either side of the viewfinder, they're usually about half the time they're just too old. Let's get the other one started. And we'll put it on thusly. Put this mirror spring in finally. I hate working around it, like having it flop around in the bottom of the camera. It just annoys the heck out of me. So I'll go ahead and set it. And then and now the camera is cocked, I think, right? Ready to go. We got that, we got that, we got that, we got that. So we should. Why is that not releasing? Oh, derp. I did not put the right amount of tension on the screws, so I need to do that. All right, we'll go back and retension these in a second. All right, so 2 turns on the closing curtain and 1.5 on the opening. So that means 2 turns of this gear here. I'm just going to do it with the screws. So there's a half. There's 1. And a half. And 2. And then now this one is, there's a half. 1. 1.5. See how she goes now. Hopefully that works. That's 1,000. And then here's bulb. Oh, looking pretty good, huh? All right, so yeah, we're kind of done. We can go ahead and put some stuff on here. Okay. Well, the only patch of light I saw was at 125 or 250, something like that. So we're gonna have to tweak some speeds here. Time to get out the slow-mo. Finger, which is less than ideal. So that's that. So this is my shutter testing setup. I've got the film camera here. We tape over the viewfinder because it makes a leak. I got a kind of a constant light source over here. And then I use DSLR. And the lenses kind of nest together real nice. So what I'm doing is I'm taking an image, 2 images with the DSLR. And in one case, we're going to use the DSLR shutter at 1/1000, and we know, that's kind of a fixed commodity, and we get an image. And then in the next second image, we will hold the shutter on the DSLR open and trip the film camera at 1/1000. and I use the histogram feature on the DSLR display to compare the two. And that gives me a pretty accurate idea of what's going on with the camera. So right now we're going to take the reference picture. I'm going to hold the shutter open here. And then that is the DSLR 1/1000th image. And each line on that histogram, left and right, is one stop, right? Boom. All right, so now look at that. See, that is real dim compared to the other one. That shutter's moving way too fast on the film camera. I need to slow it down. All right, so I just made an adjustment. That was the first one. See that, how dim that is and how far out to the left we are on the histogram. And then again, I made an adjustment, and now look at that bar. And then here's our reference picture. That's just about right on the money. I mean, it's within like a third of a stop, so I'm not going to adjust that at all. See where the peaks are? It's right on the money. So we're done. Like, we're all set up. Okay, many successes. We are all put back together. The light meter checks out. They are meant to come off from time to time, but you also don't want the corners peeling up. And then we take and put them in. Light meter switch and stuff. Are feeling robbed, not having seen. Like this. Crank it a little bit and then rotate it back 90 degrees. Seems weird.